I thought I would go ahead and make a video for everyone that's working on their lab summaries today. I got some feedback from students that said that they were unsure how to make graphs in Excel. A lot of you, I guess, use Google Sheets and Google Docs in high school and maybe don't have very much experience with Excel. So those are the Microsoft Word suite or Microsoft Office suite is something that we use in our labs, and I want you to use for all of your lab summaries. But it's good that you get to know how to use these things just in general. Lots of businesses and labs use these kind of use the Office suite, and so I'll teach you a little bit about how to make some things in here. The first, I wanted to talk about the difference between a table and a graph. So far it's been okay that you use a graph or a table in your lab summaries, but this week and probably from here on out, you're going to want to make graphs. But knowing what type of graph to make and knowing how to make it in Excel can be difficult if you've never used Excel before or if you've never made a graph before. So tables, as you can see right here, they're pretty good if you want to compare a series of numbers when precise values are required or if you're using more than one unit of measurement. So I put here an example of this would be maybe something you would see in a hospital chart where you have names and several different identifiers about this person. So what their weight is, what their height is, what their blood pressure is, and then if they're at risk for cardiovascular disease. So as you can see that it's a series of different numbers, maybe a collection of different things that you want to know about a person, and these precise values are required. It's not good enough to say you're generally 5'5", between 5'5" and 6 foot. You want to know the exact height in inches that somebody is, or to generally say they have high blood pressure. You want to know exactly what their blood pressure is, but these are different units of measurement. So this is how you might set up something like that, a table. If you just have one unit of measurement and all of these are gone, then you actually probably want to use a bar graph. So what you would do here if you want to make your table is highlight your data, insert, table. Okay. And then from here you can start to specify some of the things like what you want to name column 2, what you want to name column 3, and I had already done it before just for our example, but you can start to specify some of these things that you want to do to your table here. Again, we probably won't use tables from here on out. I can't think of one that a summary that you would need to. There might be one, but I'll mention that as the semester goes on if there is one. But let's say that you want to make a graph. So one thing that you want to know is whether your data is quantitative or qualitative. So do you have numerical values or do you have categories? So a qualitative type of data, it would be different sugar types. So there's no number to the sugar type of glucose. It's just a category of sugar, right? So you're going to want to do a bar graph because bar graphs are good if you have one qualitative and one quantitative. The quantitative version here is height. So we have numbers and categories. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll make a graph with these a little bit later on our headache example that we used in our PowerPoint. But this is what you would want to do, how you would set up if you wanted to make a bar graph for, let's say, different people and their height. You could also set it up to where the people are the columns and then their height was underneath. Either way is fine because there's ways in Excel to change them and you could do it across this way. But I just wanted to give you an example of what you might use for a bar graph. Lastly, you would probably use a scatter plot if you have both weight and height that are quantitative. So if you have two series of numbers that are continuous, then you would probably go up here to insert. First highlight your data like I did, and then insert is where you go to make a graph. So they have recommended charts. Ooh, this one says nothing is recommended, and I bet it's actually because I have these values in here. So let's do this. 195, 252, 166, and 105. Sometimes Excel gets grumpy whenever we have those values in there. Let's see if it'll do that. let's do this in inches. So that would be 66, that would be 76, this would be 70 inches, and 69 inches, and 61 inches. I don't know if all that's correct, but we'll find out. Okay, this is a scatter plot, the one that has the graph lines but then all the dots everywhere. So a scatter plot will help you identify two that are continuous, and usually you can see some sort of a trend. With a scatter plot, we would want to go ahead and add a trend line. So we're going to click on the chart and go down here to trend line and add a linear. So this linear trend line isn't super great. We can always format it and add equations down here, display equation and R value. You don't need to know what that means really for right now, but it's something that you want to know whenever, oh my goodness, a cat just jumped up into the computer. Okay, sorry. There's no way I can delete that and continue to make my video, so I hope everybody just forgives that. This value right here, you don't really need to know it, but essentially you can see that generally as your weight goes up, your height goes up as well. So that's like a general trend of something that you may want to find between two values. So as I get taller, I also typically weigh more. So let's go ahead and look at what we might want to do with a graph and how we would make it whenever we're going to do our headache experiment that we talked about in the PowerPoint. So I have my groups, ibuprofen, lavender essential oils, and M&Ms. So I'm going to make columns, one column for each different group. And then right here we had a value. You may remember that I had on the PowerPoint like after hour 0 and then 1, 2, 3 my pain level, but that wasn't really what I was looking for. I was looking for the overall difference in my pain. So I was actually just wanting one value. And from the beginning until the end, I had a difference in pain level. So in order to make it to where our words don't overlap, you can always change the width of any column. You don't have to, but you're able to. I don't remember what the actual values are, so we'll just pretend that they were 9, 5, and 1. And that was the overall rate in the change in rate of my pain level. So what I'll do to get a graph here is I will highlight my data, go to Insert. Again, there's usually recommended charts. We probably won't ever use a pie chart or this type of bar graph or this type of bar graph. They're good for other types of data. But this is one that we'll want to use. So this is our bar graph, or column as they say it, bar or column graphs. These are good for comparing categorical data like groups of sugars or types of treatment. This is our scatter as we talked about before. But let's go ahead and make the column that they had right here. So with our different treatment types, we see that ibuprofen, lavender, and M&Ms show up as our different columns, and those are these values right here. Sometimes whenever you want to get data in there, let's say we did not identify our different levels of pain, and we just put this number, this value number in here, but we didn't actually label anything, you can always still make a graph from that, and it'll make the exact same graph, but as you see down here, these are not labeled. If you want to, go up here to select data, press switch row or column, series 1, 2, and 3. The series are our different columns in the bar graph. So you would name it ibuprofen, Profen, and save it, and it would come up and save just like this. But I typically just go ahead and save myself some time and put it in the actual Excel cells. So our graph isn't finished. We need to have some axes titles. So chart design will give us all the little things that we need to learn about or add to our chart. So our add chart element right here, axis titles, primary horizontal is always our independent variable. And our independent variable in this was types of treatment. There's no unit. It wasn't number of pills or ounces or number of M&Ms or anything like that. We had all different units, so we're just going to put types of treatment. That's what we were changing. And then the other title is going to be our vertical title, and we're going to name that difference in pain level. So we don't have units for this either because we don't have pain level units, but let's say that we were taking my temperature as an indicator of our pain, then we might want to put in degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit or something like that. But for this graph, we don't need it. That's a hint right there that you might need to put some units in your graph. We would also want to change the title. So this might be difference in pain level with different treatments so that the reader knows overall what they're comparing in this graph. So this is how you make a graph. These are the things that are required of you for your graph that I will be grading you on. So if you have any questions on how to complete this, feel free to email me. Feel free to set up a Zoom meeting. I'm more than happy to help. But if there are things that you're continuing to miss small amounts of points on in your lab summary, then contact me. I usually spend a lot of time teaching these things to students in the actual lab setting, and since we don't meet, then I kind of expect you guys to reach out and ask questions for things that you don't understand, just as you would in class. So I'm available if email is easiest because your schedule is busy, that's fine. I will respond in email. If Zoom is easier because you understand things when somebody explains it to your face, I'm available that way. But don't just let small amounts of points be lost on every summary because you don't understand things. Please reach out. I'm here to help. And let me know if you have any questions. Good luck with your experiments today, and I will see you guys later.